KFYO, it's 9 minutes after 7 o'clock. It's Friday morning, the morning after City Council meeting. Glen Robertson, Mayor of Lubbock, Texas, in the house. You going to put your ears on, or are you just going to be flapping in the breeze?
They're dead, so.
Technical
difficulties.
All you got to do is say, give me some gas. Are you on?
Oh, now we're really on. We can turn that down a little.
Too loud?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's early.
Okay, City Council meeting last night. Sorry that I missed it on Channel 2. But, okay, the big front burner story is that LP&L, the Electric Utility Board, says we're going to tie into the ERCOT grid for 2019. And the ERCOT grid would be the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. Now, obviously, the Electric Utility Board thinks that this is a good deal. The people from Xcel Energy say not such a good deal, but tell us how this shakes out.
Tell us who ERCOT is for people that don't know.
Well, first of all, it's not just the LP&L board. The LP&L board, all the staff at LP&L, the city council, all the staff at the city of Lubbock, the executives at ERCOT, the PUC commissioners, everybody involved really thinks this is a good deal. And it is. It's a great path for the future of Lubbock with our electric supply. In reference to Xcel, they are a for-profit, publicly traded company that worry about as they should be, worried about their own bottom line profits. They've made some comments yesterday that are not factual. This will save the city of Lubbock, save LP&L approximately $20 to $25 million at minimum per year if we can make the move to ERCOT. Now, where we're at now, we have not announced we're moving into ERCOT. We're announced that we have petitioned ERCOT and the PUC to allow us to do the feasibility studies, the transmission studies. And this will be a very long and tedious process. We hope to be able to do it by 2019, but if we can't make that deadline, there will be some contingency plans for bridge agreements to get us through a year or so. ERCOT is a grid that covers 90% of the state of Texas. It is the most reliable and most fair marketplace for electricity in the United States. It is one of the largest assets we have as a state. The fact that we have our own grid, it's not regulated by the federal government, so we don't have to worry about the federal government overreach. We're regulated by the legislature and by the public utility commissions, and both of them have done a great job regulating ERCOT. So I joined the EUB, and David McCullough over there is excited about this news. I think it's huge.
And this is a little different than Xcel's for-profit business because this is a member-based 501c4.
Yes, and there's over 550 generators within the ERCOT grid. You've got wind energy, you've got solar energy, you've got biomass. There's a very small piece of nuclear in there.
Biomass meaning, is that a poo burner?
No, biomass is really technology that's coming on quick. It's where you take your landfills. You speed up the decomposition of the waste material, which produces methane, and you're using that methane gas to actually drive turbines. And, we've had that technology for 40, 50 years. It's just never been economical, and now as the technology is improving and the price is dropping, we're starting to see that. So the main thing, and I say there's really three things we get out of ERCOT. Number one is we get very reliable, good power source. It expands our options to not just building a $700 million to $1 billion plant, and it gives us much more flexibility in the marketplace. The other thing that we've got to talk about is not having to spend this almost $1 billion to build a plant, so we don't have to take on double the city of Lubbock's debt. But the amount of water we'll save from not having to cool a new generating plant. It's millions of gallons that it takes to cool a generator. So I will tell you, for the city of Lubbock,
not millions of gallons
a day.
That's why I want to put that in perspective. My son works with cooling towers, and there's a lot of water involved.
It's a lot of water, and it's a lot of, quite frankly, wasted water that we can't afford to waste in West Texas. There's no downside for our ratepayers. Everything is positive for the city of Lubbock ratepayers. It's a positive for ERCOT. All of the windmill generators, the wind generators that you see in the panhandle of Texas, all of that energy is going down into ERCOT. We've got the CREZ lines built that are transmitting those electrons south into ERCOT. This will allow us to use some of those lines that are already in existence to bring power back into West Texas. It'll stabilize ERCOT in the panhandle, and it will get Lubbock in the largest, most reliable grid we have in the state of Texas.
Okay.
And if it saves LP&L, like you said, millions of dollars.
A minimum of $25 million a year once we get in it. And there's a possibility for that number to grow because we'll have to have some transmission lines built, and that cost is subsidized throughout the whole grid, so that helps us. And yet if we build some of those, we will get revenue in the future off of those transmission lines. So we've been looking at this and analyzing this for literally over 3 years since we finally got the Republic Power Partner issue killed. And this kept coming up to the top as the best option for Lubbock. Well,
it's kind of interesting because for the longest time we were sitting here having all these conversations. Well, we better hurry up and do something. Better hurry up and do. I mean, if this was such a no-brainer, why didn't we get on it sooner? Was it because
market change? You look at what's happened in the last 3 years. Since we started this process. Wind energy 3 years ago was unaffordable. The only way you could use it economically was with government subsidies. Solar was completely unpractical. Biomass was even worse. And the market wasn't as efficient 3 years ago as it was today. And we didn't have all of those CREZ lines completed. We didn't have all the windmills. So many things have happened in just the last 5 years that it really changed our focus from having to spend, like I say, anywhere from $500 million to $1 billion to this. Now, it is still a lengthy process. We're going to be under the gun to get this done by June 1st of 2019. It will take at least 3.5 to 4 years to get this transition done. We feel optimistic that it will happen. If it doesn't, there will be contingency plans in place to bridge us through the point that we can actually make the interconnection.
Okay. A couple of questions, and this is one, and this is something you probably would not know, but, in your dealings and conversations with people, I would appreciate it if you would figure this out. I'm just wondering how big of a piece of wire does it take to tie into a grid like this? I mean, seriously.
Well, if you've seen... If you'll drive just north on I-27 and the big wind farms that we've built in the Panhandle, look at the giant towers. And like I said, we've built, and I say we, ERCOT, has built CREZ lines, massive power lines to move all this wind energy out of West Texas into the ERCOT. The majority of the transmission that we're going to need is going to be out there. And there are other transmission companies that are just in the business of building transmission within ERCOT. They build it, they own it, and they create revenue from having it. So we're going to have a tremendous amount of options.
All right. Glen Robertson, Mayor of Lubbock, Texas. We'll be back with more conversation. Mayor Glen Robertson in the house after City Council meeting last night, 770-5790. If you have a comment or a questions, we are going to the phones. Justin, you're on.
That'd be me?
That'd be you.
All right. Hey, I just had a question, just a quick question about this switch that y'all were talking about. Does that give us any potential in the future of becoming deregulated in our energy?
Well, Justin, that'd be up to the Texas legislature. If we get in the ERCOT grid and if future Texas legislatures want to deregulate municipal power companies, it would allow that option to happen much easier because we would be interconnected to a grid with over 550 generators. And if that point, if that ever happened, it would be wide open.
All right. But for now, that would all remain the same then?
Yes, sir. Like I say, the Texas legislature and the PUC is going to make the decision on the deregulation. None of the municipally owned utility companies in the state, even the ones that are in ERCOT, San Antonio, San Marcos, Austin, those markets are not deregulated now. There's been a lot of talk about that, and it wouldn't surprise me if sometime in the future if that didn't happen.
All right. Well, that was my question, so appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Justin. Hey, Mayor, you were talking earlier about this $25 million savings.
Mm-hmm.
So I just pulled out the calculator and, divided by the population. I'm thinking, okay, $100 a year. You said, wait a minute, there's only about 100,000 electric meters in the market. Okay, and so I get that. So if you do that shows a savings of about, well, if you go by meter, that's an average savings by meter of about $240 a year.
Right.
Okay, so then you're saying, well, wait a minute, not so fast, because there's only, 100 meters. And then I'm thinking, then you have to take out overhead and all that, so I'm thinking only a percentage of that. But you're saying that $25 million is a net.
That's a net savings, $20 to $25 million net savings over our cost today. And the reason you get that is there's a capacity requirement in South Plains Power Pool. And that capacity requirement means to be able to buy energy out of the pool, you have to be able to generate that much energy of your own, or you have to have a contract with somebody that can actually deliver that energy to you. ERCOT doesn't have that requirement, and that's a $40 million a year number for the city of Lubbock. So you take that $40 million, we will have some added transmission cost over what we would have in South Plains Power Pool. But when you get to the end of all the calculations, it'll be a net $20 to $25 million annually savings for the city of Lubbock. Now, I don't know what future LP&L boards and future councils will do. I will not look anybody in the eye and say, man, you're going to anticipate a very large cut in your electricity rate. I think we all know that once government gets their hands on your dollars, it's very hard to let go of it. But it will be an absolute net savings to LP&L, which will allow them to either recommend rate reduction or keep future rate increases from happening as they'd have money to reinvest in their infrastructure.
You get all that, Laura Jill?
Yes, I did.
Good, because I couldn't repeat it if I had to.
I'm not sure I'm happy with the answer, but
Well, let's be
people
realistic.
think, $20 million in savings, that they should pass
25.
that
25.
to the customers.
Yes, but we got to be realistic, and,
Right.
and you're anticipating that a future council in 5 years from now would take that money and reimburse it. I don't know what a future council will do, and we don't know what the marketplace is going to be. I will tell you it's going to be a net savings to the citizens of Lubbock for the next 50 to 100 years, and I'm excited about it.
Well, here's another thing to consider. There are always other costs that the utility company has, so basically that might be a trickle down, and it may not be a refund in the form of cash
Lower
to the
rates.
customer, but it may be a refund to the customer in reduction in operating costs. You know what I mean? Mayor Glen Robertson here. City council meeting last night. Now, I know this is supposed to be a a post city council deal. But should you decide to run for the vacated seat of Randy Neugebauer 2016, then hasta la vista, baby.
I'll tell you, this has been one of the most difficult decisions that I've ever had to face. This is a unique opportunity in West Texas for a seat to come open. A seat that I think Randy's done a tremendous job. There are some things that Randy and I don't agree on, but very few. And I think he's really done a good job of representing West Texas. But, when you start contemplating running for Congress, you've got to look at your family, you've got to look at your health, you've got to look at your business situation, you've got to realize that you're going to spend a minimum of 20 days per month, 11 months out of the year in D.C., which requires you're going to have to maintain two homes. It's a lot of travel. It's a lot of people think that job is just prestigious and glamorous, but I don't think they understand that an effective congressman is spending 10 to 12 hours a day while he's in D.C. working, and then when he's back in the district, he's spending another 10 to 12 hours a day visiting with his constituents and finding out what's happening in his district. So, I will tell you, I have a desire to be the next congressman for District 19, but I love what I'm doing now. I like being mayor. I like the job I have. I like the people I'm working with, and I feel like we're headed in an extremely positive direction now. So I'm going to continue analyzing this, the effect it would have on me. I'm also going to try to figure out where I can be the most effective. Where can I do the most good? And I'll make my decision by October 10th, October 15th at the absolute latest.
All righty then. What do you think are the most pressing issues for a United States Congressman, District 19, and how would you go about trying to change things?
Number one is you have to put West Texas first. You've got to put the interests of our cities, our rural counties. You've got to put our interest before any other interest. And I think that's critical, which means a very strong emphasis on agriculture. We've got to talk about food, fiber, and fuel. If you look at our district, how much cotton we grow, how much cattle we grow, and how much fuel we produce. Those are three giant issues that we have to address, and we have to make sure that we've got somebody representing the folks that are in those industries. We've got to talk about immigration and the border. We have to secure our border, number one. And we're getting that out of order. We've got to have somebody that will go up and that has lived in West Texas, understands the impact of the massive flow of illegal immigration across the border. We've got to stop that flow first. Secondly, we've got to decide what are we going to do with the illegal immigrants that are in the country now. And then we have to come up with a comprehensive immigration plan and border plan that keeps us from keep getting in this situation every 15 or 20 years, where we get so many illegal immigrants that we start having people talking about amnesty. We have to remember that every immigrant that has crossed that border illegally has committed a crime. Therefore, they're a criminal, and they need to be treated as such until we can figure out a way to solve the problem and come up with good worker programs and issues that will handle that. So I think those are going to be extremely key issues, and I don't know how we can get through a campaign without talking about them.
Just a thought before we hit the break. When I was 13 years old, I remember having this conversation with my mom driving down NASA Road 1 in the Bay Area of Houston. There were so many people that were here supposedly on student visas at a restaurant that I worked at. And I mean, like, just about all of the wait staff. And a lot of them were there and their visas had expired, but they were still there. And they were all Persian at the time, which that would be around Iraq today. Mm-hmm. And I told my mom, and I said, Mom, what about all these people? They keep coming in here, and they would be talking about their religious views on the job, kind of proselytizing, the population inside the worker population inside the restaurant. That's the way I took it. I was 13 years old, and that's the way I took it. And, I said, Mom, all these people are coming into the country, and how in the world are we going to keep track of all these people? My mom said, oh, you know what? We have intelligence. We may have had then, but because we assumed that we were America the brave, America, home of the free, land of the brave, that we're American, people can't touch us. Well, you and I both know that ain't true today.
Well, it's not true, and I think we have to realize that I'm not anti-immigration. I'm just pro-legal immigration. Maybe we need to simplify that process, but we cannot have people entering the country illegally continually.
Lubbock's First News, Glen Robertson here in the house. If you got a question or comment, 770-5790. Back to the 19th Congressional District run. You say that you'll decide one way or another, and you'll let us know around October 10th, no later than the 15th.
Correct.
All right. So we were talking about immigration. And obviously, you agree that, something needs to be fixed. Are you pro-wall, or are you...
I think there's much better technology and better ways to fix our border than a wall along the border. We've got the technology. We've got a lot of ways to detect movement across that border. We need to do whatever it takes to stop that movement. Then we need to address the issue of the illegal immigrants that are already in the country. And then the third step, and it's got to be a three-step process, is complete immigration reform, figuring out how do we want to handle the mass immigration of people in the United States. And we have to protect our citizens first. I understand there's a humanitarian side of it, but our citizens, our tax base, our people that are footing the bill have to be our number one priority. So, I think it's one of those things we need to start the adult professional conversations, get the partisan politics out of it, and get people at a table and start working on solutions. And I'll tell you, that's where I am frustrated with our federal government. Is we are at the point now where we've got $19 trillion in debt, and all we want to do is argue about red meat topics, and nobody is discussing solutions. And we have to start talking about solutions at the federal level.
Well, as I was saying off mic, I think that, one of the illegal immigrant control apparatus could be like a force field on the Starship Enterprise. I mean, don't we have that kind of technology? When you're saying we have technology, don't we have that kind of technology?
Well, I'm not aware of a force field technology,
I don't
but
think
Tom, you live
That's
in a
up
different
there.
world than the rest of us, and
That's
that's
up
okay.
there with the invisibility cloak.
Yes.
Well, hey,
yes.
you know what? They have cloaking devices on, on some of the jets and stuff. I mean, no, but seriously speaking, if you detect movement, and I'm just, throwing this out there and just thinking it through, I've heard a lot of talk about, we have the technology to detect, movement, as people try and come across the border. But when you detect that, I'm just thinking out loud, once you detect movement, then what do you do? I mean, do you have it takes
boots on the ground at that point. I mean, there's just no other solution. We've got the technology that through drones and satellite imagery, thermal detection, motion detection, they can analyze and know when a human being is crossing that border. And at that point, we need to make sure that we've got enough manpower along that border to handle the issues. We also have to work within our cities, not just in southern Texas or Arizona along the border, but we've got to educate our police departments. We've got to make sure that we are handling this problem, we're handling it in a humane way, but that we are putting our citizens first.
7:56. Good morning, Lubbock's First News. Tom Collins and Laura Mack.
They know where it is now.
Exactly.
Okay, you're going to have to qualify this.
I know.
Laura was sitting there saying that she had a depraved childhood.
Deprived. No, we were talking about the Tech game this weekend. Mayor says he's going to be there cheering the Red Raiders on to victory over TCU. And I said, when I grew up, I lived between A&M and UT, and the question was, so where are you going to go to college, UT or A&M? It was like there was no other school in the universe besides those two, and I said Texas Tech, and they were like, what? Where's that?
They know where it's at now, don't
Yes,
they?
they do.
Anyway, so you don't have a prediction for the game as far as a score. You just think we're going to play well?
I think we're going to play very well. Those young men have a tremendous amount of confidence right now. Coach Kingsbury, I think, is really coming into his own. The defense seems to be improving every week. I'm excited about the game, and I think they've got a very good chance of winning.
TCU's struggling a little bit defensively, so,
Well, they lost a couple of players last week due to legal concerns. Mm-hmm. And
now maybe we can just, never mind. I won't wish bad on anyone.
But I think Saturday will be a good game. I think Tech will be very competitive, and like I say, I think they've got a very good chance of pulling this off.
Well, the thing is you always judge, you always judge the performance of how the game goes against the previous game with the same opponent last year. You know, the thing is there ain't no place else but up.
That's right.
Well,
Last year was not pretty.
It wasn't, but we're a different football team this year.
That's right.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, we really are a matured, very confident football team that is playing well together, and don't count them out.
All right.
And halftime's going to be fantastic. The Going Band from Raiderland celebrating 90 years.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's cool.
That's interesting. Laura was saying that they were the first band to go on a road trip.
Yeah, to go to away games.
Okay, and then also, now, as far as we know, we're the first to be charged $100 at a Texas game per seat.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we could negotiate the price down just a little bit.
You're talking UT.
And ticket sales are suffering in Austin right now.
So they're hard up for some butts in the seats.
All right.
That was graphic.
Yeah.
It's a theater term.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Let me be the first to hit you up, just in case you run and win. Let me be the first one to officially ask you publicly for a favor. Don't know what it is, but
Don't commit to anything.
I'm not going to commit to anything to Tom.
oh, come on, man.
Thanks for coming in today.
Appreciate
Glad
it.
to be here. Appreciate it.